regardless of our church background, regardless of where you grew up or what happened, probably 99.999% of us have been processing this from the early age, because we all got this question. Did you get this question? What do you want to be when you grow up? You know what I'm saying? How many got that more than 1,000 times, right? That's all of us. And now we're doing it to the next generation, right? What do you want to be when you grow up? We just have these notions when we're little and as we're growing that you want to grow up and be a fireman and a policeman, or you want to grow up be an astronaut. Anybody want to grow up be an astronaut? Anybody? Yeah, see, an astronaut, because when you're 5, everybody can go to the moon. And so you want to grow up and be the president? Anybody want to grow up and be the president? Yes, all right. Yes, all right. I'll vote for you. All right. So, we just have these aspirations, because when you're little, you can just be anything you want to be. You just grow up and be that person. I'll go first. I'll tell you a few of my things for this transparency. Then we'll start over here and we'll just go through every single person here this morning, what you wanted to be. And no, we won't do that part. But in junior high, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I just had a love for animals. I think it's mostly I just wanted a dog. So I don't know if maybe that's where that came from. And then nerd alert here, I wanted to be a cartographer. It's a person who makes maps. So, and in junior high, when you know the term cartographer, it's really awkward. So I'd had that going for me. But I just loved exploring, adventure, discovering new places. Those were the days when you had the fold-out maps, and they would be this big, and you could see the route. And it was just a blast. I still love maps to this day. And then I love sports. I love sports. I loved basketball. And so being white and height impaired, it wasn't really a good, and lack of skill. But I loved basketball and just wanted to just grow up and play basketball. And I remember in 9th grade, I had this glorious moment as they were evaluating talent for 9th grade teams. And I was in with like some of the elite players. Eric Carlson was like 6'20". I mean, he was 6'6" in 9th grade, I think. And so I'm 5 foot nothing. And so come in, and I had this I like stole the ball from him. And I still remember to this day the glorious sports moment. So he doesn't remember it all. But anyways, I just wanted to like have this be known for. I wanted to be somebody who beat you. I'm sorry. I don't really, know if that offends you, but if we're thumb wrestling or playing ping pong or cards or basketball, I just want to beat you. And so that's just what I wanted to be when I grew up. But somehow, at some point, and I'm not sure, I've racked my brain around this, and maybe you know more than I do. At some point, somewhere along the lines, we transition. Maybe it's in high school, maybe it's in college, once you kind of pick a career path and decide down that track. Maybe it's once you land your first, quote, real job. But we transition from what we want to be to what you want to do. And particularly this time of year, right? We set out with what do you want to do this year? And maybe you know more than I do. Maybe for you it's different than someone else. But there's that transition in your life where you kind of quit wondering what you want to be and you more focus on what you want to do. Like this year, maybe you want to lose 10 pounds. Or maybe you want to take a trip to Yellowstone. Or maybe at your company, you want to be the top salesman, and out-earn everybody else. Or maybe you're the owner of the company, the boss, and so you want to, increase revenue from last year. And so we go into these, what do we want to do versus who we want to be. It's this tension we all wrestle with. Go to the next one there. That what I want to do versus who I am becoming. And as we dialogue around being you, I think these two things are really opposed to one another in a lot of ways. Because we begin to settle in with who I am. Again, I think that's different for all of us. And I know there's sometimes a life situation happens where it kind of shakes things up and gets our attention. But for the most part, we kind of settle into who I am. And then I just focus in on a few of these things that I do. And I really want to talk to us this morning about who we are becoming. Because Jesus said it this way. He said this about doing versus being. He says, what do you benefit if you gain the whole world? And what really matters if you can do everything you want to do this year and all the goals that you've set out for this year, the next 5 years, what your life looks like? Like, what benefit if you gain the whole world, if you accomplish everything you want to do, but you lose your own soul, but you become someone who you don't want to be? Like, what if you lose the 10 pounds, then after you've lost the 10 pounds, you become a really unhealthy person because you did it in a way that was detrimental to your body? Like, what if you do and gain the trip that you've always wanted to go on this year, but you put it all on a credit card, and then you become a slave to the lender, and when you get home, you become a person who you didn't want to be? Or what if you become the top salesman this year, or you increase revenue in your company this quarter and this year, but you had to do it in such a way that cut some corners, and you didn't totally lie, but you kind of left out a few of the facts, and you didn't totally cheat, or you didn't, didn't partner with one of the people in your company because you wanted to get ahead of them. Like, what if you did it in such a way you became a person you didn't want to be? And Jesus said, what benefit is that if we can gain the whole world, but yet we don't really like who we become? And so that's what we're dialoguing around the next few weeks, is just who are we becoming? Because we have all these expectations, and I think these are tied together, that once we grow up and we become something, like, we don't measure up to who we wanted to be. Like, what do you do when you don't measure up to you? Like, you wanted to be a fireman, because as a little kid, like, firemen get to wear cool gear. Like, who doesn't love cool gear, right? I mean, honestly, half the things I do is just because you get to get new gear. You know what I'm talking about, right? You buy stuff, right? Some of you are like, yeah, that's you, buddy. All right, so that's why we do it. But like firemen, you grow up and be a fireman, they get to run in the burning building and save the baby and come out, and they're the hero, and the cat's out of the tree seems real glamorous. And then when you become a fireman, you're like, cat in the tree is kind of, like not as glamorous as it was when you're 5. Or you wanted to be a nurse or a doctor, and then you're like, I'm going to help people and heal them and like get them all healthy and they'll be great. And then you go and you're like, people come in and they're like complaining, and you tell them to, eat vegetables, and they don't do that, and they go back and they just don't do what you're telling them to do. Or, you wanted to be a mom when you were little. You're like, as a little gal, you just want to grow up and be a mom, which is great. That's a great aspiration. But then you're a mom and you're like, I'm not really measuring up to like the mom picture I had in my mind, like it was way more perfect in my mind than what it's actually living out in real life. Or you wanted to be the boss because the boss is in charge, and the boss gets to, tell people what to do, and the boss is in control. And then you get to be the boss and you realize you have to like fire people, and that's no fun, right? And you're like, that doesn't really measure up to what I had expected, what I was anticipating for me to be. And so what do you do? What do I do when we don't measure up? Unfortunately, we do this. We make up a different me. We make up an imaginary you. And that's today's title, what we're talking about. That we create this perception. As a dad, I want you all to think I'm a good dad, and that I discipline in the correct ways and appropriate ways, and my kids behave. And I mean, you've never seen my kids like run across these pews and jump over them, hurdle them like they're, in track, or, like I want you to see, my perfect family on Facebook, Instagram. Let's just be honest. You don't need to show any hands here, but how many Christmas pictures did you take before you posted on that one online? All right. Right. You know what I'm talking about? Like, there's a certain angle you got to shoot from up here, what I'm told, by people, like, don't shoot from down here because you get this thing going on, like you got to hear, and you don't want to look just right, and you got to make sure it's just perfect. And like, you take a picture of the Christmas and the tree's all perfect and the presents. There's no wrappers anywhere. I mean, come on now. We're managing it, filtering everything that goes online, and wanting to know that people approve of me and what you think of me, and I got it all together. And because if I don't feel like I'm going to measure up, I got to create this false front, this imaginary you. And as a guy, and I think this is true for all of us, but really as a guy, I want to know that I have what it takes. And if there's any sort of inkling that you're going to think I don't have what it takes, I'm going to start to create this imaginary front. Like if you crack a joke and I'm supposed to know what you're talking about, I just might like laugh along and nod like, I know what you're talking about, Like I don't want to be the guy who goes, I don't even know what you're talking about. Because like I want you to think I'm smart and intelligent and understanding culture or whatever you're joking about. And we create these imaginary yous. We create these fronts, these false images, these perceptions that we have to manage. And here's the problem with imaginary you. And you already know this. You guys are intelligent, smart people. Here's the imaginary you. You grow older, but not better. Like as a person. That you just grow older, but you're not actually changing and growing and getting better. Here's another problem with imaginary you. The imaginary you could be hanging around so long that it actually seems like the real you. And it may even seem like the real you to you and to the people around you. Like you've been that way for years or for decades, but that's not actually the real you. Here's another problem with the imaginary you. You're driven by fear. Driven by the fear of getting found out. That somewhere, somehow, someone would say, gotcha! And point a finger at you. And see, I knew you didn't have what it takes. See, you knew your family wasn't right. Like our old neighbor, Danny's a great dude, a great guy. And I remember this one time, he just was like, I just wish you and Amy would yell at each other more. Yeah, more. Like, it was a once in a while, but to him, he needed us to see, because they would be real vocal next door. And so they would But is this fear like, oh, I better not let Dan see like Amy and I fight? Like that's part of how like he views God and me. And it's like it's driven by fear of being found out. Like you don't make sure your pictures online are good even in the background. Like you wouldn't want dirty dishes in the background of your picture in the kitchen, right? Somebody might point out, see, I see all those dirty dishes in the background. Or you're looking to find faults in other people, right? Because you're driven by fear of being found out. Here's another thing that's just really just is a serious problem with imaginary you. No one actually knows the real you. And you're striving, you're building this imaginary you in this front, and let's not pretend like this environment here on a Sunday morning is one of the greatest places that all of us can put on an imaginary you. And I can be at the front of that line. You try this, go to a pastor's conference. Talk about a bunch of people trying to put on, this imaginary you. It's crazy at times. But we're afraid of being like the real me. Would people like the real me? Would people really approve of the real me? Where's the recognition that I desire? And will people want that? And so I've built this imaginary you that no one even knows the real me. So here's the deal. And I'm not trying to be harsh really or offend anybody with this, but nobody, if you've got such an imaginary front, nobody actually likes you because nobody actually really knows you. They know the perception of you. And you're so desired, and I'm so desired to have people approve and accept me. And I think I've achieved that, but it's with this imaginary you, this imaginary person that I've created to a certain degree in certain arenas with certain people in certain ways. But no one actually really knows me. So that's the problem with it. And I go through this list, and that's just a short list of things, right? That with the imaginary you, it's like, that's exhausting. Doesn't it just make you kind of tired to try to manage all that, navigate all that, and handle that, and like live that way? And is this really me? And is it real? And you and perception? And I'm driven by fear, and I want to be found out. And like I'm not getting any better, and I just got to make up the image. Like, oh, geez, And so what we usually do is we like hide out. Like, don't go to the places or to the people where you might get found out, right? Like that's one of our ways that we handle this. So for some of us, that's why we don't come to church. Like if I go to a church gathering or a group or somewhere, like I might have to deal with some stuff. I don't want to really deal with the real stuff. I'll just keep the imaginary stuff. And so we can have a tendency to hide out. Or we can have a tendency to go the other way and like, all right, people think I'm a sports person. I'm going to be a sports person. I don't want anybody to think I'm not a sports person. So I'm going to go, get it done. Because I don't want anybody to find me out that I maybe, eat donuts more Fridays than not. Post Falls Gross Donuts. They're actually very good. So you should go. They're straight up old fashioned glaze is great. Anyways. But isn't it just kind of exhausting to either avoid and hide out or try to overcompensate and not be the real you and don't want to get caught? This is kind of crazy. Here's the good news. Ready? We all deal with this. If you're in the room here this morning, you're listening, you're thinking, am I the only one who deals with it? No, we all deal with this. We all deal, and every single person on the planet has dealt with this. It started back with Adam and Eve. God created the heavens and the earth and planets and the animals and all the things. And then he created man, put them together. He says, here's the deal. You guys hang out, enjoy each other. Like 10 things, be a gardener, have a bunch of sex because it's really good. We'll talk about that more on the 22nd. But, procreate, take care of the garden, and then don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Well, not too long after, Adam and Eve ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Good and evil? What am I saying? Good and evil. There was eagles there too. See, I'm trying to cover. I don't want you to think I'm an idiot, right? That's how crazy this is. And we pick up the story here. After they ate of that tree, it says, at that moment, their eyes were opened. They're wide awake in this new way. And they suddenly felt shame. They never experienced shame ever in their entire existence. And they were ashamed at their nakedness. They didn't even know they were naked before. So they sewed fig leaves together and to cover themselves. So they had this awakening in a different way than before, and they begin to hide. And when the cool evening breezes were blowing, the man and his wife heard the Lord God walking about in the garden, which was like a normal experience for them to communicate and experience God's presence this way. So they hid from the Lord God among the trees. So here they are, they jump back because all of a sudden they're aware that there's an imaginary you showing up. They're different than before, and they're hiding. And then God shows up, and it goes on, and it says this, as they're hiding behind trees. Where are you? God calls out. Where'd you go? It's like the first game of hide and seek ever, right? But it's way more than some sort of cosmic hide and seek game. Like, did God literally not know where they were? I mean, they're like my kids when they play. I can see you behind the trees over there. Like, God literally knew and physically knew where they were. But God's asking this question, where are you? The real you disappeared, and now there's this imaginary you that is in hiding. Where did you go? Like, where did you go? And here's the beautiful thing and the glorious thing in this moment. They had just royally screwed it up for themselves and for the rest of humanity. They had broken what God had created. They had felt shame, and then they're hiding in their nakedness. And here's the God of the universe shows up, and he goes, I want to be with you. Where did you go? Right? Like, where are you? You're putting on this front, you're hiding, you got fig leaves, and you're behind a tree. Like, where did you go? And he answered, from behind the tree and from the hiding, I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid. The imaginary you is always driven by fear. Fear of being found out. Fear of being caught naked and ashamed. I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. And if I was to make up this story and write it, and it's not a made-up story and it really did happen, but if I was to make it, the next part would be, as a parent, I would go, okay, what? Who screwed up? You screwed up? Why did you do that? I told you the rules, and I posted them at the door, and you're not supposed to do that, and how many times have I told you? And like, that's the rhetoric I would, but here's God in this glorious, beautiful moment. He says, who? Who redefined you? I mean, it was Satan. It was the enemy of their soul. And he is attacking, God's attacking Satan. Going, who? Who gets to tell you who you are? Who did that? Why are you letting someone else define you? I already defined you. I already created you. You're unique. I know who you are, and I've put you here, and I've told you who you are, and I've gifted you. Who are you letting into your life to redefine you? And I think that's God's question here this morning for each and every one of us is, who are you letting into your world to tell you who you are? And I think God would tell us to some of those voices, who are you letting tell you who you are? Why are you doing that? I've already created you and gifted you, made you special and unique. Why are you letting someone else come in and redefine that? And God in this moment goes, I just want to be with you. He's in the garden looking for him, going, where are you? Because I want to be with you. That could be a totally different view of who God is for a lot of us. We think God is saying, why'd you screw up? And what's wrong with you? And you broke it. And now you got to fix it. And you just like has a big, cosmic finger at us. But God's going, who told you? Is that stinking Satan, that serpent, came and lied to you, redefining who you are. Because here's the beautiful thing in all of that, and that paints the picture for you and I, that God knows the real you. God knows the real me. God knows the real you more than you know the real you. And he loves you. And he wants to be with you. Even in the moments where we're hiding behind a tree with a fig leaf trying to cover our shame, he's going, where are you? I want you to be you. You're like, that's not me and who? And like, who defined you? God knows the real you. He's your creator. Even if you don't believe in God, I got enough faith for the both of us that he created you and he knows you in and out. And that can be kind of scary, I know, because you're like, he knows everything? Like everything? Yes, everything. But it's also so beautiful and reassuring because he knows everything, and he wants to be with us. And he loves us, despite all of that. And yet we think we need to earn God's approval and God's acceptance because we've been trying to do that on planet Earth with the people that, haven't approved of us and told us we're not going to make it. We're not cut out for that, and we're trying to stick it to them. We're playing with a chip on our shoulder. And we, have that teacher who said, you're not smart enough, you won't make it, and I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to go for it. I'm going to get in that college, I'm going to get in that career, and I'm going to show them that they're wrong. And they don't have to And we live this cycle and we create this imaginary you because we're trying to get the validation, we're trying to get the reassurance, we're trying to get the approval from the people in our lives. It could be some people that are the closest to us, our parents, and you just never got that approval from your father saying that you got what it takes. I know you're strong, I know you can do it. And so you've been living your whole life creating this false front, this imaginary you that's been trying to prove it to the whole world that you do have what it takes and you do have what's going on. But I tell you what, the God of the universe that really knows you. And he loves you right where you're at. And he accepts you and he approves of you. And here's the thing, Jesus said it this way. He says, you got two options as you live life. He says, you can cling, you can hold on to and bear hug and live your life, this imaginary life. If you want to cling on to that imaginary life, you're just going to lose out on life. But if you want to give up your life, if you want to get rid of the imaginary you, trying to manage everything, being driven by fear and trying to, you actually want to get better in life, you want to change and actually grow and be different. If you want to give up and then follow Jesus, then you'll find the real you. You will find true life. You will find a fullness to life that doesn't exist anywhere else. And as a Christ follower, and maybe you've had it in this context, a lot of times we'll just say this verse and only in the context of like eternal life. And so, hey, if you want to find eternal life, find it in Jesus, which is 100% true. And Jesus is talking about this here. But I think there's a depth to it here that we don't always talk about. We don't always explain and really digest that this more than just someday, somewhere, somehow. It's like, it's today. Like, as you go to lunch today, and who you're becoming is a different person because you're giving up on the imaginary you and you're finding your true life in Jesus. The real you is just found in Jesus, simply. And that may be shocking or new for you or a little bit, I don't know what to do with that. And we're going to take the next couple of weeks and unpack that more and dialogue about that and discuss that. But the real you is only found in Jesus. The imaginary you is something we make up. And here's the deal for all of us is we all have a limited perspective on the real me and who I am, okay? You can't see the blind spots or the bald spots. Like, you'd have to ask the person right behind you now for, us guys, like, how's my bald spot? Is it all right? No, seriously, is it all right? We doing okay? Okay, thanks, appreciate it. Jeez, be helpful for a guy. I got a limited perspective. I haven't hit 40 yet, so we're doing all right. But we have a limited perspective on who you are. Like you and I have blind spots. We just can't see. We just don't know everything about us. And so we need help with this. You need help with this. I need help with this. And to help us out, take a quick look at this video on getting more perspective.
I'm a forensic artist. Worked for the San Jose Police Department from 1995 to 2011.
I showed up to a place I'd never been, and there was a guy with a drafting board.
We couldn't see them, they couldn't see us.
Tell me about your hair.
I didn't know what he was doing, but then I could tell after several questions that he was drawing me.
Tell me about your chin.
It kind of protrudes a little bit, especially when I smile.
Your jaw.
My mom told me I had a big jaw.
What would be your most prominent feature?
I kind of have a fat, rounder face.
The older I've gotten, the more freckles I've gotten.
I would say I have a pretty big forehead.
Once I get a sketch, I say thank you very much, and then they leave. I don't see them.
All I had been told before the sketch was to get friendly with this other woman, Chloe.
Today I'm going to ask you some questions about a person you met earlier, and I'm going to ask you some general questions about their face.
She was thin, so you could see her cheekbones. And her chin, it was a nice, thin chin.
She had nice eyes. They lit up when she spoke.
Cute nose.
She had blue eyes, very nice blue eyes.
So here we are. This is the sketch that you helped me create, and that's a sketch that somebody described of you.
So yeah, that's...
She looks closed off and fatter, sadder too. The second one looks more open, friendly, and happy.
Do you think you're more beautiful than you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
We need help with how we view ourselves. I mean, if Dove Beauty can get it right, come on now, the people of God got to get it right. And it's so amazing. Okay, one, that guy can draw like that from somebody talking. Like, that's unbelievable, right? That's him being the God's creation, and like, I couldn't look at a person and draw like stick figure, you know, like that's amazing. But you got these people and with just limited perspective, yet these strangers who they just talk to for a few minutes paint a better and more accurate picture of them. And we all need help with this. You need help with this. To be the real you, the God of the universe knows you best because he created you. And to have that flourish and come out, you need to just settle into the fact that you don't have to gain the approval and the acceptance of everybody around you, but that the God of the universe, your heavenly Father who created you, loves you. And you already knew that. I mean, take a look at this. Somebody that would die for you loves you. And he did. And to find ourselves, to be the real you, is to be found in Jesus. The love of Jesus for each and every one of us. And we need help with this. We need the Heavenly Father just to speak to us and talk to us and know who we are. And again, we're going to talk about that more in the next few weeks here. But that you're his beloved. That he's got a full life for you. That he loves you, and then with all that love, he says, go and love other people and live that life. And it just frees you up to be who God's called you to be. And with God, like, you can do anything you want. Because with God, all things are possible. And with God, then you're just following his journey for your life. And you're thinking, it sounds too easy. It's so easy. I mean, it's demanding in the sense of how we love people, but it's so clear and it's so beautiful when you begin to live out how God loves you and then has called you into loving other people. It's what we should be doing. And so who are you becoming? I tell you what, though, here's what you can expect as you start navigating the path of life, that as you change lanes, that you might expect some resistance. As you begin to change lanes into more who you are becoming, who God's created you to be, that you could just expect a little bit of pushback from people. Because here's what we do, whether we know it or not, with every single person in our life, is we've got them figured out and categorized and put in a box. So this is my organized friend, or this is the funny person, or if I have something to fix, I call this person. Or with my kids, I got one that's not so organized, I got one that's more talkative, or this one's the sports one. And we just begin. I got one that's favorite, but let's not talk about that. But we tend to start categorizing people, and then when you start to get out of your lane a little bit and become more of who God's called you to be, it looks like this. Like you go down to have somewhere to eat, and you sit down with somebody and you order a salad, and they'll go, salad? You're not a salad person, right? You're changing lanes. You're like, I'm becoming a healthier person, and they're pushing back. Or you go to a meeting and there's someone that's there that's early. You're like, Bob, what are you doing here early? You're the late person, Like there's some pushback. You're like, late person, I'm becoming the early person. Or you're a person who's been, resisting the fact that you're going to put your name on some music. Because you're an artist. But you're like, I don't know. You're going to put your name on some writing. You're going to put your name on some art. And you're like, I don't know if that's me. Like internally, you're dialoguing like, yeah, but I feel like God's put it inside of me. I need to write something. Well, start writing. Like be you, the you that God's created. Like put your name on it. Be an artist, because that's who you are. I know, but what if people don't like it and they're critical? I don't care. Like if that's who God's put inside of you, that's who you are becoming. Go for it. Just you're going to expect some resistance. You change lanes. There'll be some honking and some things. And just remember, anytime someone tells you you're number one, okay. You know what I'm talking about? When you change lanes, you get the number one. I'm doing the full hand so I don't offend anybody, all right? Should have been here at rehearsal. Anyway, so I'm doing the number one. As the great theologian Jerry Seinfeld says, if you get the number one, remember you're one finger away from a compliment. So I like that, all right? So great. Like there's going to be people who resist. You're going to think, that's not me. You're going to go to the gym. You're like, you went to the gym? Yeah. You're not a workout person. You're like, that's who I'm becoming, right? And we need other people in our lives to help us with this. You need a group of people who know you and can help you. Not fans. Those are fanaticals. Those are crazy people. But not critics. Just people that will hug you and tell you the truth. Like people who, when you go to the gym, they say, good on you, way to go to the gym, right on. They're not the people in your life that are going, man, you're not a workout person, what are you doing there? It's so easy and so the way we all kind of tend to go to be critical of people and tell people who they were instead of who they're becoming and becoming in God. Like with my kids, if I told them they can't read, they're not a reader, because literally for the first few years of your life, none of us can read, right? So they weren't readers. But if I can just keep telling them they're not readers, what are they going to grow up and be? Not readers, right? So I'm telling them now and have been for years, you're a reader. And that's who they're becoming. And somehow that makes sense, and you all answered for when they're 6 years old, but somehow it turns off when they're 26 and 36 and 46 and 56. We just kind of settle into who I am, and we just kind of do a few things here and there, but we don't really think about who we're becoming. I tell you what, we need people around us to help us, encourage us, and be the cheerleaders. And I'm just looking at a great group of cheerleaders right now of telling people in your life of who they're becoming. I was at our community group. This is one of the groups of people around me that helped me become who I'm becoming in Jesus. And a couple of weeks ago, we were there, and somebody else was leading, and somebody was sharing. And I was on my phone doing some group admin, literally trying to get the schedule together for the next couple of weeks, who's telling the story and all that kind of stuff. And I'm listening, but I've got my head down, I'm looking. And somebody else just like sent me a text and then said out loud, like, Scott, get off your phone. People are sharing their hearts. I know. I was like, my first thought was, and I said, I'm like, I'm doing some group stuff. And then I thought, no, I want to be a present person. I want to be with people when I'm with people. And so I appreciated that. You know, that's who I'm becoming. I need a group of people around me. Last month, I went and shared it at Trent Elementary at their PACE assembly. It's the character assembly, talking about caring. And so the kindergartners came in first, and I was sitting next to some kindergartners and got to meet them and hanging out with them. And kindergartners are great. You can have all sorts of fun, and they don't quite get all my jokes, but I love it. So we're sitting there. I got my coat. I put my coat under my seat, and I talked to the little gal next to me, and I said, all right, I got to go up on stage here. Can you watch my coat? She's like, what? Like, can you just watch my coat? And I said, if somebody tries to steal my coat, you go tackle them. And she's like, what do I do? I'm like, just kidding on that part. So I go and do the little thing, come back, and it's literally like I'm walking to my seat, and she's reaching under the chair, and she's like showing me she did a good job of like taking care of my coat. It was the sweetest, cutest thing. And for like the last month or so, I've been walking around in my pocket with these little medals and just hand them out to people randomly. It's so awesome. You should try it. And so I just gave her a medal. It says winner, number 1. I said, you're a winner. You know, and just tell people who they're becoming. She's a winner. More than just because she watched the coat. I just think she's awesome. And so you just get yourself something. Just walk around and hand people awards. Say you're a winner. That's who they're becoming. Like, I didn't win today. I kind of screwed up and stuff. No, you're a winner. That's who you're becoming. When God's in the garden with Adam and Eve, he goes, you screwed up. I'm going to get you. No, he says, I want to be with you, and I'm going to fix this all. God doesn't break us in order to fix us, right? We walk into this broken world. He fixes us in order to use us to love other people. And we all need a group of people because we have a limited perspective on who we are. And we need people around us just cheering for us, and we need to be cheering for people in our lives. The imaginary you is driven by fear of being found out. That you're not good enough, people don't really like you, you're not approved. Driven by the fear of being caught off guard or found out. 2018, make it a year of not coming off as you, just be you. And the way you do that, the only way I've discovered to do that, is to be driven by God's love for me. And I got great parents, but they're human. And who I am and my identity and just to settle into who I am is going to be found in God's love for me. He goes, I just want to be with you. That's why he literally came to the planet to hang out with us. Jesus came and hung out with us to be with us because he wants to be with you. In all of our brokenness and all of our, messed upness, but then in all of our beauty that he created and the uniqueness and the giftedness and the forensic artist dude and the talents that you have and the skills and abilities and opportunities that God's given you. Like he came to hang out with us, to be with us because he loves you so much. And he wants to hang out for eternity with all of us. And the way to have the real you show up is to be driven by God's love for you. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next couple of weeks, and how do we do that? And we've got other people in our lives, and I had a tendency to look to left and right and compare myself, and what does God really say about me? I tell you, here's a little tease. You know what God says about his people? He says, you're a holy people. You didn't do anything to earn it, you're a holy people. Regardless of how you act or what you said on the way in or out of here, you're a holy people. You're blameless in God's sight because of what Christ did. You're a royal priesthood. You're kings and queens and daughters of the king. You're princes and princesses. You know what he says? He says you're more than a conqueror. You're a champion because of Christ. You know what he says you're becoming? Is you're spirit-filled, empowered people with every access to every spiritual blessing in the heavenly realm. That's what you are. That's who you're becoming. And you can just settle into that. Be freed in life just to be you in that. It's amazing. As we end our time today, I just want to be me a little bit, okay? Can you, this would be a little bit weird or awkward, okay? I know you're like, what is he going to do? We're going to pray. And we're just going to pray with our eyes open. I know, weird, huh? Let's just pray with our eyes open, because when we get to heaven, then we can look around and go, oh, I remember you. Yeah, all right, that's good. So Heavenly Father, as we look around and we just see each other, help us as we go today to understand how much you love us, how much you care about us, you want to be with us. God, we thank you that your love is not based on our works, but that you just are just an awesome God with this tremendous love and adoration for each one of your children. And God, as we go today, may we just be ourselves, the one you created and the one you're making, and that we would go and we'd love people in that kind of way. Amen? Amen.